Conservative candidate. Willie Shearer is the man who cares about Gorbals. He knows the district. You know Willie Shearer gets things done.
The contest in Gorbals was between Labour, the Tories and the boisterous Scottish National Party.
A Tory vote is a wasted vote. A Labour vote is a wasted vote too.
There were also two candidates from the extreme left, but the Red Clyde is a memory now, and no one expected them to be up with the favourites.
Well, I see this as a barometer for the coming general election next year. I feel we're on the way back, and I feel we'll come back to a good Labour victory in Gorbals.
Well, I'm going to win, sir.
I feel there might be a recount which will decide who becomes MP for the Gorbals.
Gorbals wasteland. Dominating all else in this by-election was the issue of housing. Despite the soaring skyscrapers, there are still 10,000 people housed in what any Glaswegian would tell you, with perverse pride, are the worst slums in Europe. In the game of Gorbals versus the rest, the people have consistently lost.
Now, I don't think that Willie Shearer needs much of an introduction. You all know
it is a situation calculated to breed apathy. At the general election, only 61% of the electorate bothered to vote. The political meeting is a dying art form. At the by-election, the Tories, invading a working-class ward, can attract only a handful of voters.
No.
The Tory candidate is Willie Shearer, a 59-year-old self-employed plasterer. Raised in the constituency, he was Glasgow's first Tory councillor and hopes to overturn Labour's majority of nearly 10,000 votes. It seems a prodigious task. At this meeting, he was supported by Gordon Campbell, Tory Shadow Secretary of State for Scotland.
The man who should clearly represent the Gorbals in Parliament is Willie Shearer.
Why I'm standing for the Gorbals is quite simple. I'm known as the local wee Tory of Govan Hill. And I can rest assured when I am returned to Parliament, I will carry out all the duties that a faithful MP should do. And furthermore, what Mr. Campbell has said is our policies. And our policies are for the right way all the time. And I'm so well known in the wards, as you know. I know all the streets, also the rooftops, and the chimney pots. Now, it is a risky job I take on. I'm taking on a fair, risky job here, but the risk is the winning of the seat, and we will win the seat. Right, come on, son.
Willie Shearer seems happier in the streets he knows. A handshake is not as demanding as a speech.
What do you think of the Labour government, sir? What do you think of the Labour government?
What do I think of what?
The Labour government.
I think nothing of no government.
Very good, that's very nice. What do you think of, sir?
Oh, I think it's terrible.
Awful.
Are you Mr. Shearer?
Yes.
Oh, well, I've been voting Labour for 40 years.
40 years?
40 years.
Yes.
But I've never done us any good. All they take off the old age pensioners, they give them 10 shillings, take 5 shillings off them. You understand?
What did the other government give you? What did any other government give you?
Well, look, friend, I'm only trying to tell you that from my experience, you see, that...
I'm as well experienced as you.
They give you 10 shillings, don't they?
Aye. What did the other government give you? What did the other government? Explain that.
Now, wait a minute. They take 5 shillings off you supplementary, don't they? Huh? So you're not getting 10 shillings of a rise. You understand? Well, you're admitting that, aren't you?
Builder, he left a lot of dirt in your bag.
Did you? It wasn't me, it must have been some of the men. How are you keeping? Have you got some of the shoes? You'll be voting for me, won't you?
Certainly.
Very well.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. You're not keeping too good.
I'm keeping fine.
Oh, what are you sitting out here for, the good sunshine?
Get the bloody fresh air.
Well, that's grand. You know, I'm your candidate for the by-election.
I'm not voting for you.
Oh, how I know it?
I'm voting Labour.
Why?
Because I always vote Labour.
It's been an astonishing turnabout for the Gorbals if a Conservative gets in, won't it?
Yes, it will. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it'll be very astonishing because I was the first Tory in the city local council, as I'm sure everyone knows in the Gorbals. And this record behind me, I'm a stiff wee fighter, and I'm sure we can take it.
Mr. Shearer, In the spectrum of Conservative politics, where do you stand? Are you progressive with Mr. Heath, or perhaps slightly to the right with Mr. Powell?
Well, I can go any way as long as they're Tories or Conservative. I'm strong Conservative all the way.
How do you think the SNP will do?
I think I'm not going to be too predictive about it, but I really honestly think they're falling behind. We find this on our canvases, they're really falling behind.
Who do you think will come second?
Well, the point is this, if I'm going to be the first, I presume the sitting people, the Labour people, should be second.
But in the May municipal elections, the Nationalists faded badly. They blamed the weather and their organisation. Others wondered whether the bubble had burst. Their candidate, City Councillor Tom Brady, knows that he carries the political future of the SNP on his shoulders. Winnie Ewing, the victor of Hamilton, is at his side, but the Nationalists knew that more than triumphal motorcades were required to capture this deeply entrenched Labour stronghold.
I'm only going on the results that we have. It will be very close. I mean, I would say probably between plus or minus 500 for either of the candidates. And it's as close as this, and it will depend very much on polling day organisation. If we get our voters out, then we'll win.
You say plus or minus 500. If you're much more than 500 votes, say, behind Labour, would you consider that a bad result for you?
No, I don't think it would be a bad result for the SNP, but it would mean then we would have to look into other means of SNP election organisation, and we'll learn a great deal from this result.
Say you're as much as 1,000 behind Labour, would that be a bad result?
Well, so you have to look at the percentage poll. I think it will probably be about a 60% poll. So 1,000 behind, I would be a bit disappointed. I feel that this seat can be won with about 6,000 votes, and I would be looking for something more than the 5,000 mark.
Labour's strength lay in tradition and in their candidate. Baillie Frank McElhone was born in Gorbals. He knows the people and they know him. Every night his greengrocer's shop in Crown Street is filled with people seeking help and advice. In this respect, he is already functioning as an MP. Dependable Frank, said the posters, and the image was plugged throughout the campaign. It isn't life and soul they need in Gorbals. It's decent homes, or at least a roof that doesn't leak. The street where he was born, and Frank McElhone goes in search of voters. They are hard to find. The tenements, once incredibly the homes of the well-to-do, are coming down, and every day people move out to other parts of Glasgow. At least 3,000 have moved since the last register of voters was compiled. Finding them was an essential part of Labour's campaign. But as he climbed the dingy stairwells, Frank McElhone had more on his mind than the vanishing voters. What if the SNP have confounded the pollsters and pulled off another Hamilton?
The Scottish Nationalist Party are flinging everything into this campaign. They've spent a considerable amount of money. They've brought every single worker they have in Scotland, and they see it as a barometer to the success, or possible success, if any, in the general election.
If there has, as you say, been a decline in the SNP vote, why has there been this decline?
Well, there's various reasons. The main reason, of course, is that to many people, SNP stands for still no policy, and they don't have any policy that would attract itself to not only the Gorbals people, but the people of Scotland. They had their first policy conference in Oban last year, and it was certainly a disaster. And ever since then, the people have tended to shy away from nationalism of that particular sort.
I have the impression, talking with the SNP, that while, of course, they would be delighted with a victory, they would not be too disappointed by being defeated by, say, by 500 to 1,000 votes. Would you consider a win by you of only 1,000 votes a bad result for Labour?
Well, let me say it wouldn't be a good one.